So I think I've had a very wonderful interview together with Karen and Cynthia, and it's very nice. The two ladies in the house, you are gendered or you are gender specialists. You've taken a career on the gender stuff. And I guess, if I'm not wrong, you are skewed and or biased towards the women. Is that clear? Is that right?
Go first, Cynthia.
I feel like that's a very sensitive question.
Yeah.
Setting us up.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I'd say women, but it's informed. It's not like we do not want to involve women. We do. Actually, in a majority of the work that we do for women, we try and bring in men as champions, because it's definitely very, very hard. And I think part of the issues that we are facing in society right now is in many places, people complaining the boy child has been left out and you're empowering all these women. Where are they going? So there's such discussions ongoing. And so I think personally, what I really try to do is ensure that even in the work that I do, involving men, because they're not the agenda, but making sure that men have a buy-in and are supporting that women agenda. Yeah.
I think I do agree with Cynthia that yes, we are putting women at the center of the focus, and that's also informed by research. It's still women who face the majority of violence in the entire world. 30% of women in the entire world. One in every three women has gone through, meaning between me, Cynthia, and one other lady, one of us has gone through violence. You see, but that's all, and that's why we put women at the center of our interventions, and having men come in to support is something that we always strive to do. However, we don't want to also get to a point where it's also again men taking over and forgetting women. That's always been the history. Women are just at the back of the banner behind the scenes. So I think when we work in the field of violence, we try to put women at the center of it.
Yeah.
All right. I think, ladies, you are right. The question I've been asking myself is, and it's something that always keep on bothering me. For the last 2 decades, for instance, the world has been working towards empowering a woman since the Beijing, was it Beijing conference on women? Yeah. Things really changed very fast. And since then, men and boy child has actually and truly been left behind. I know you must agree with me with that, and especially for the last 10 years. So sometimes people will argue like, okay, this kind of aggressiveness that we are witnessing, is it because that men and women and ladies and girls have been empowered more than the men and the boys, so that they have been left to wander on their own? And you must also agree with me, I don't know if you will, that the fabric of the society has really changed compared to our forefathers. There were existing systems where it used to work. Even if those parents were not educated, but you could see that there was some kind of systems that was working, a kind of conversation and communication between a dad and their sons, also their moms, and their daughters. But now, currently, things are just gone haywire. Everybody for their own business, God for us all. But and I guess that's a problem. Now, even currently, when we are talking about the gender-based violence, I have looked across what is happening for the last few years, and I've realized that we are so much focusing on the victims of the gender-based violence and the women. And then the men are coming at the tail end. I believe myself that in order for us to do a meaningful way to address this issue, we must first to start having a meaningful engagement with the men and boys in order for us to maybe achieve some desired expectations in this game. But if we focus more, we put a lot of energies, bias towards the ladies. It's been several years already whereby we are trying to work it out. But as long as we are biased in our programs to only focus on the women and the victims, then it means the perpetrator himself is just free. Nobody's engaging them. Nobody's hearing from them. Nobody is reaching out to them meaningfully. We can be reaching out, but are we doing it meaningfully? Meaningfully in a sense that, when we develop this program, and in the recent months, I've been participating in design thinking of programs now. And I realized that the best way to do these things is to design a program with the mind of the end users. The end users in a way that if currently is you want to address the issue of gender-based violence, so you have to target who are these affected, who are the perpetrators, and how genuinely can we be able to do it. So we design a program, an activity with all these people in mind. They'll have. Okay, so I even don't know where I was, by the way, but I was wrapping it up on the meaningful engagement of men and boys in order for us to meaningfully address the issue of gender-based violence. So perhaps you can all react on that, whatever I've said.
For me, yeah, I think engaging men is important because 90% of perpetrators of violence are male, and without engaging them, really, you're not changing. It's like trying to remove women and putting them in an island of just women and girls, because otherwise, if you don't engage the perpetrators or the men in the society, then you're not really changing how things happen. You're just cushioning the effects of it, right? As you said, we focus more on victims, but again, I think that is because victims first have to go through psychosocial support. Being a victim of violence is not something that it's a continuous process. It's not something that, oh, he beat me and then it ends there. It never ends there. It's something you carry for an entire life. So I think it's fair that we do focus on survivors sometimes. I like to call them survivors because they need more care than perpetrators. But yes, I do agree, engaging men and boys is a good way to change how the fabric of society works and how they think about women in terms of power and rights.
Yeah, I think for me, what Taraja said about meaningful engagement.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have to be really careful, even in terms of changing the conversation. Because yes, we do agree also men face challenges, a lot of challenges in society. However, at the end of the day, we have to look at who has been disadvantaged, and then how do we bring them to a position where they're aware of their rights, where they feel safe. Because really, when we change the conversation and it's not about women anymore, we focus on only men or men empowerment, then we lose focus on the root issue or the problem. And then there's something you've mentioned about and it's a question I think every day lazima tu kisema I am a woman, but what about the boy child? Like I feel it's a very important conversation that needs to be had. However, the approach needs to be very strategic. Number one, we need, in this whole conversation, I feel like we need statistics because when women rights organization and when a lot of programming is focused on women, it looks at the holistic challenges that women face. Number one, when it comes to access to resources, when it comes to even just look at the political leadership of our own country, the simple, even just in parliament, the numbers of men versus women, governorship and all that, politically already see women are underrepresented by less than even a third. We are fighting to actually get just a third of women to get into political spaces. So that is politically. Economically, even when you go to majority of all these big organizations and companies, not just in Kenya but across the world, there is men are overly represented in these spaces of economic power. Even world's richest, if you just pull a simple statistic, even the top richest Kenyans, you'll see it is male dominated. When it comes to access to education, yes, there are a majority of women who chini in primary school and all that. But then as we transition to the higher institutions of learning, like universities and hivyo mkipanda juu, realize women get less and less and less as you get to the top. And then in the end, what that does is, because I do not have the right skills and education, then it's difficult for me to enter into the job market or get a very good job. At the same time, the things you're talking about, attitude. There are even employers who outrightly cannot employ a young woman like me because they will say, hey, huyu ataenda apate mimba, start focusing on family, and maternity leave and all that. So there are discriminatory places of employment that do not take women, basically, just because of your gender. So reproductive health rights, like the issue of pregnancy and contraception and all that, is also another big issue on its own. So across the different spheres of life, we see women are really underrepresented and disadvantaged across the board when you mention anything. So I think also we really need to, as we talk about male engagement, identify which are the specific areas that men wanaona wameachwa nyuma, then now we come up with solutions ama meaningful ways of ensuring that men also participate. In my own opinion, I feel like this is personal, maybe it's not fact-based, but I feel like the issue here is status quo inatingishwa kidogo, you know the way, like a child who is alone for a very long time, alafu mama yake apate another kid, all of a sudden you feel like attention has been taken out. You're not suffering, like you are in a home, everything is okay, you're not suffering. But then because there's another child, now mom maybe is focusing on raising this other child to get to an independent level. So I feel that's the issue. But also I feel there's an issue of mentorship that is really lacking in men. And for me, the people I will blame here is not the women rights organizations. I would blame men themselves. They need to support young men to be able to mentor them so that they are able to even know to deal with an empowered woman, because women are doing a lot to mentor other women, etc. So I think also men really need to step up and not wait on women to do all the labor. Like, yes, we are trying to change the world, but also men have a role to play. Let's mentor these young boys. If it's sana issue yao, mi naonanga ni economic empowerment about jobs. I feel like it's an issue of capitalism and not really feminism. So our laws, our policies, tusaidia vijana wapate kazi na vitu kama hizo, so that isikwe saa tuna fight ati women wamesaidika sana. Yes.
Even men,
I think I'll give
men we are trying. Men we are trying. It's only that we do have a lot of responsibilities bestowed on us, sometimes, yeah. And I know, and you can agree with me that much of the man's time, yeah, especially on the women that are not purely empowered. Some are empowered, and you have come across some women who say like, okay, the hubby's money is ours, my money is mine, and now that's a big problem, because as a man in the house, I have lazima nijitume sana, in that scenario, in that time, I have to go out, do so many things, work so hard, always absent, On the other hand, you have a lady who is now feeling that she's very much empowered, she knows the rights, So it becomes an issue when it comes to matters of mentoring per se, because as men currently with this kind of economic, and the dependence ratio, it's not easy. But I must say that we have, to some extent as men, failed enough a bit on it. But then some women have not actually accepted that there is a lot of change in the world currently, that we do not just need to depend on man entirely, that we all have a role to play, even in upbringing of our children, and even contributing to the basket of the home. Because if we contribute to that basket, if, for example, like in my own home, I'm learning, I've gone to school, maybe I have a job. My wife has something to do, we all have to contribute something. Even as we bear these children, so that to ease a burden on my side, you also have to contribute something. But now, there is this a clique of women. I call most of the time I call them the toxic feminism, whereby everything around them is about women. Everything is about women. They will tell you, no, as a man, you have to take responsibility of A, B, C, and everything. Yes, I'm doing that. But suppose there is some kind of incapacity based on the way the 21st century is taking all of us. It's not an easy thing, You expect me to go out there, you expect me to do everything, and then you expect me to be a dad at home and everything, and then you are just chewing your own monies, pole too. So it's a problem that sometimes women co-create within itself. You can work so hard, but then if you want to go ahead 2 steps, somebody is taking you 3 steps back. I don't know. You can react on that per se.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think so when it comes to that, we live in a society. All this is based on culture. It's our gender, what is it called?
Gender
how
roles.
we have been our gender roles, how we've been socialized is men are the providers. Women are the ones who take care of the home. And don't forget, also these women live in these societies. So we are all victims of culture, and we have all been put into this cycle of gender roles. And so the conversation, I really think men need to be excited at the thought of women empowerment, because then what that means is I will go get educated, get a good job. Then as I continue to unlearn, also I'm going to support back in the home. So I think slowly, also ideas of masculinity. Unajua venye umesema toxic feminism, there's also toxic masculinity, which I think is also one of the biggest problems that we currently have in society. You will find a lot of the, gender roles have really evolved, because increasingly we are finding women really being providers. There are homes that are headed by women. Men are just a background. A lot of women are really stepping into. So a lot of women are stepping into boardrooms. A lot of women are entering into political spaces. But then the challenge we have, men are not evolving their roles. Men are not stepping back into the home. So in the end, what you have is, I have a woman who is fully taking care of the home issues. I have a woman who is contributing to bills. Like women are doing 90%. And then we have men holding on to the initial masculinity, toxic masculinity roles of a provider and a protector, which basically these are ideas that we need to unlearn and then have conversations. We see those stupid attitudes zenye zinafanya tukue na hizi mvutano. Yeah, who is providing? Oh, your money is ours. Because even women themselves, they need to unlearn that. It's our fault also. Not our fault. I would say it is the fault of culture. Because we are all in that toxic space. We all grew up in that society, and tunaambiwa these are the rules. So you cannot really fault a woman when they come and say, oh, mimi I know, because that's how they've been brought up. Anajua baba yake ndo huwa analipa rent, anafanya kila kitu. So I think it is a conversation that we need to have as a society as a whole. It's not a issue that we blame women alone, or we blame men alone, but it is a wholesome conversation that we really need to unlearn gender roles. Then I'll create something that really works for us. Because all those roles, they're now becoming, we are really seeing how they've become obsolete and can't apply in today's world anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with Cynthia with that we all need. He has shaped us. Wacha tuanze na hiyo story ati umekalia umekanyagiwa chapati ama umekaliwa chapati. What is that? What is that thing? Like, it's also just the notion that men have been told wakae Taliban. Do not show that you actually love this woman.
For
You
real.
see?
Yeah, I
So
know.
like, what is it you're doing if you can't show me that you love me? Unataka tu kukaa Taliban, you go out there, hang out, cheat on me, ndio kanika, you're an actual man. You see, those are the things that society has taught us. Society has taught us that men always have to be providers. And you know, the reason why in Kenya, the number of suicide is like higher on men than women. It's because society has cultured men to always be like, I really need to provide. I always have to provide. If I don't provide, then I'm not a man enough. If I don't have money more than my wife, I'm not man enough. But what makes you a man? What is it? So you have to define yourself, what makes you a man, instead of waiting for the entire society to prove to you that, oh, you have to have money and to be, to be man enough. And then on the issue about household gendered roles, or like you want your wife to also contribute in, I would ask, is this something both of you have talked about, and have you agreed on it? Because I think assumptions also move around a lot in relationships. You're assuming that since your wife is working, she just ought to contribute to the family basket. But did you guys agree on that? Remember, also society has cultured us that men are the ones who are supposed to provide everything in the house. But if we haven't talked about it, we have to agree what our relationship is to us before the society. I think that way we have to, now we start making new roles for ourselves, and hopefully it will go into the society.
I just wanted to add.
Yes.
I think.
Go ahead.
I just think as we're talking about what about the boy child, I think earlier I talked about mentorship of boys. I really think we need to really interrogate issues about masculinity and redefine what masculinity is, so that we do not cause really bad pressure on men. Karen just said how so many men die by the way. It is really sad. So many men are depressed. So many men do a lot of things that really they would not be doing if they had the right support. And all this, it's not even about women empowerment causing that pressure. The pressure is caused by masculine idea of what it means to be a man in society. So when we establish the root cause, and then people really slowly we redefine what masculinity is and teach our boys, you can still, being a man is not about what you have. It's not about being provider ama kwanza the funny one inakwanga protector. Unashangaa huu security, kuna police officers and everything, but a man is a protector. Anyway, basically, the issue is not women empowerment. The issue is how do we unlearn masculinity and what we've been taught are the traits of a real man in society. Once we are able to unlearn that, then we can start engaging and even see how conversations on women empowerment might be of benefit to men. Yeah, and take off some of those pressures that men have.
Okay, so far the discussion is so nice and it's so great. But before we end this session, there is something that bothers me a lot. Nimezaliwa Mount Elgon, especially Chebiuk. That's where I come from, by the way. Cynthia talked about the school there. I schooled in Chepkurkur Primary. I schooled in Quebec.
That was the school.
I schooled in Banantega Primary, and then went to Cheptais before joining high school here in Nairobi. I'm talking about the issue of gender-based violence as a person because of the stories that I hear, and not just that I hear, there are things that I see.
Yeah.
Some from my own family, some from my own neighbors, some from my own relatives across there. And as I say, families that are consistently in gender-based violence, they do not have a stable future. They do not have a stable family, and they do not have a future. This is because, as the families continue fighting, concentration on the family fabric, building that family fabric is broken entirely. The children are affected. they are totally affected, and you find out that most of them are not even accessing education. I have a family relative with about 8 children and 2 wives for now, I know. But you see, the children are not getting the much needed education. And it disturbs even myself. Even when I'm trying my level best to promote access to education in the community, what made me to do all these things is such kind of information that I see and meet and witness. But sometimes, there is a level where if somebody is educated a bit, they have a level of trying to think beyond the human or cultural perspectives around. And so for me, gender-based violence is something personal. In my own house, I don't have that. I know I've been married for about 8 years now. In my house, I'm the only boy child. In my house, I'm the only boy child. And yeah, when we are talking about the boy child issue, I'm the only boy child. And the love I get from that house, I can't imagine to start sharing. The love and the care that I get, simply because I'm the only boy child. From my wife, from my 2 daughters, they are so amazing. I don't know, where do these men get this all energy to batter a beautiful wife that actually they have a life together. So sometimes it perturbs me. But nonetheless, I need to see all these things from my own, within the family and within the neighborhood. I've seen where young men are actually in competition of marrying, of polygamy competition. Somebody is not even stable in the family itself, but anataka kuwa bibi wa pili. And when they do that, now the first wife, together with him, they have worked so hard to build a home for some years. They have built things. They have a farm. They have cows. They have goats and everything, at least. But now, because there is a new kid or the new lady in town coming over, now they are supposed to be given ntakana kupewa tam. Now what happens is the man in the house will come and systematically takes one item and property after the other, selling it and then going to entertain the other woman. So it is something that is always bothering me. And recently I wrote an article about it in my own blog about it because I've witnessed. And the more the guy comes, now the concentration on his existing family collapses. Now he wants to start a new family by actually removing everything that they have worked on with the first family, with the first wife, all the way. And this affects the access of education to children, even provision of basic necessities for the family is entirely left out. And this woman now is left to wonder, left to work out on her own how to feed this children. No, sema aki ameniachia watoto, anachukua ng'ombe, anauza kila kitu kwa nyumba, anapeleka the other side. So it is something that I'm very much, it's personal to me. And I'm going to use my space to talk about it in candid, without fear or favor of this. And so those are some of the things why I'm passionate as a young man or as a man talking about the issue of gender-based violence.
Okay, so you wanna go first? Go on.
I was just thinking, I was reflecting on what Taraja was saying, and in my head I was just thinking about how the cycle of poverty, it's so easy to feed into it without knowing, because now you see from his example, for example, if maybe your sisters, I don't know their situation, but from what you've shared, they're not educated, then if you end up with a man who does not take care of his family, and anakuja, yes, in marriage, then he starts with another woman, chases you away. Now this is a woman who, first of all, does not have the right skills, does not have education to be able to provide for her family. In the end, you will find either they will, yeah, it just becomes a desperate situation. You're unable to provide support to your children. So you find your own child again, because of the delays, anasoma na a lot of problems. Unajipata venye unasema mtu ako 20 years old ako class 6. So inaendelea hiyo cycle, and it's very difficult to break sometimes. But once you get an empowered woman, like what tunasemanga, an empowered woman, it's a whole society, kwa sababu women really know to hold a family, to make sure all the kids are schooled, as in, no pun intended, but unajua a majority of men wanajiangalia mi ni hivyo, but for women they really spread so that everyone gets to benefit from what they have. So that's why I think for me it's I'm very passionate also in terms of women empowerment. We can see when one woman like this faces a challenge, it really goes on to affect the next generation, their child and the next, not unless a miracle happens midway. Either they get married to a wealthy husband, or they go waangukie kijackpot hapo katikati, is when, but for majority of them inakuwa now struggle after struggle. You struggle to eat, that means you don't have fees for your kids, so they can't go to school, and if they can't go to school, then they start stealing, and it's a whole cycle. Yeah.
I have a question for you, Taraja. So sharing your experience, I realize that all the people you've mentioned that are going through these issues are women. Yeah. Does that somehow change your question that you asked us at the beginning of our conversation, that focusing on women so much and forgetting the men? Does your experiences somehow make you think differently?
Thank you for that question. That question itself and that experience itself really do not way much change my perception. Why? It's because this man is totally not even aware of what's happening. When you go and tell him this is gender-based violence, he doesn't understand. Okay? So for him, first, he doesn't have enough education that can give him the opportunity to reason well. Number two, the society that we are living in actually is not thinking more on how do we bring on board these men to understand the issue of gender-based violence. The reason why I said we skew so much towards the victim is because we want to help the victim, but we are not providing an opportunity or a safe environment for her to be safe. Because we will focus on her, yes, but then the perpetrator is there, very arrogant as well, as usual. You do ABCD, he comes again and say, okay, umeenda kunishtaki. And exactly that's what happens. That's what happens. If the lady, goes, maybe somebody comes in and ambia, hey, bibi yako alikuwa mahali, and somebody, or if let me give an example. The lady perhaps atakuja kusema, ataniambia, Abdul, what's happening is, tumekuwa tunagombana kila wakati. Now, if I take now that opportunity to talk to this person of mine, this is a brother or somebody close to me, then I'll what is not happening? So first, he knows that somebody has gone to tell someone that, there is an issue. So the first thing chenye anafanya akifika home is actually to fight again. Yeah, you are the one, you're going out there to tell people what is happening here and there. So the cycle itself, as Cynthia puts it, keep on rotating. So the reason why I say we need some meaningful participation of men in this issue is, so that we can be able to help the victim. So that as we try to help the victim, we also want to create an enabling environment for the man, this perpetrator, to understand that whatever he's doing is hurting not only that lady, that woman, that wife, is also hurting the family that is working, hard, he's also hurting himself because he wants to progress, but then at the same time, the decisions he's making of battering the woman, sometimes if the children are there and asaba water, so there is no peace in that house. So the progress he wants as a man to do, actually, zote inakuwa eroded. So I know it's an emotive thing, it's something that is serious, but we also need to do something. And this is where we call for collective efforts, and maybe as Cynthia said, talked about policies, policies that deals with the gender-based violence, they are there, but most of them are skewed towards or biased towards the gender victims, helping the victims instead of helping. If you jail somebody right now, jailing is not enough for me, the way I see personally. Jailing is not enough. They say, you cannot, you don't bring peace by force. You can only do it through understanding. So if the person is made aware to understand that whatever they do hurts them more, and given an opportunity to reflect and to see and to learn from those that are working better, they will now be able to change themselves. Other than just taking somebody to court. After coming from court, what will they do? They can even kill. Yeah, they will be hurt. So I think the most important thing we need to do is to change the perception, to look back into the fabric of the society and to see the aspects Cynthia talked in the interview about the mentorship, the men's mentorship towards boys and the older generation to mentor the younger generation. But anyway, those are some of the things.
Yeah, I think that's really good. The approach really needs to be integrated and wholesome. Yeah.
And a combination of several solutions. So as you said, carceral solutions only are not sufficient on their own. So is the raising awareness is not sufficient on its own. So we have to combine all those approaches.
Yeah.
So we can, make a progress.
But jail pia ni muhimu sana. Ndio watu wakuwe funzo kwa wengine. You should not negotiate with criminals. And I wanted to ask Taraja whether we've reported the repeated violence. Unajua, I also understand that woman. Unajua, when you are economically dependent on someone, it's very difficult to leave an abusive situation and provide a better environment for your children. So also like this discussion is very meaningful because also investing in women's economic empowerment so that they have an alternative when there's violence that is very repetitive, but also at the same time safety. Yes, while we are doing education and changing perceptions, we should not negotiate with criminals. They belong in jail. Wacha waende tutawafunzia huko. There are programs for prisoners. Lakini sometimes, because there are people who do not change. There are people who, especially the very problematic people who just can't change. Ni hivyo wako. So wanaweza enda pia wafunze watu huko jail. Wakuwe mentors.
Ati alete mchezo tena tutamrudisha. Akitoka huko anaweza kuwa mentor.
Anaweza toka huko akuwe mentor, akuje change mind, abadilishe watu wengine. But anyway, that was on a light note. I think it needs a wholesome, venye Karen anasema, integrated approach where all these different strategies tunaziweka, they work together in unison for a more sustainable and long-lasting sort of impact or change in society. Yeah.
Okay, I think today we've had a very amazing discussion and talk, and how I wish we can be having all these kind of discussions more often. And as the days keep on rolling, I think we need to bring more on board, both men and women, so that we can be able to discuss this.
Yeah.
And we also need to bring people that their opinions are always regarded highly. I'll be able to look for one or two, especially men. The people I know will discuss some kind of this issue. they will be able actually to give us those perspectives and, what need to be done as a society. And perhaps the three of us, we can work on some questionnaires to ask, especially those men. And also on your side, we also need to bring some of these women who have grown into the experiences of life and everything to also be able to share. So I want also to take this chance to thank all of you for sparing this time. It's not easy. I know it's way past lunch time. Perhaps some of you have not eaten or bitten by something. And whatever we've done here is very, very, very great. And I'll be sharing or updating them on Monday, most probably. I'll be able to share with all of you. And feel free to actually write an article, write anything, share with me. I'll be able to work on it, and then we can be able to disseminate this thing. I know we can always as well organize such kind of forum, and we talk. This is actually like a town hall. We need to bring more on this. And we need, even if we have 5 people, 2 or 3, we can actually have this kind of conversation. And maybe next time to boronge Kiswahili, mjaribu kuongea Kiswahili kidogo. Swahili ni ngumu sana. Nonetheless, Cynthia, you are parting short in this session.
First of all, I'm very excited at this conversation. I'm very excited at this conversation. I really think moving forward, it's something that if we continue engaging, we get to learn the different perspectives ya watu. But also I want to upload you on Elgon Center for Education. I really want to know more about what you guys do and see how probably we can plug in with the women perspective to see also how do we get more women on board to get educated. I really think everything starts with education. It's a very important aspect of empowerment. Other than that, I want to know, you are famous on social media, umesema, so maybe you can give me your handles, I become a follower.
Yes. Share all your information, links to your blog, YouTube, your social media tags, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook.
I will share that in WhatsApp so that you can be able to look into it. Karen, your final word as we summarize this.
Yes, I think I agree with Cynthia that this has really been good, and I'm looking forward to a more expanded discussion within our community. And hopefully, since it's online, it doesn't really matter where our people are. We can always meet. And thank you so much for, holding my hand and showing your support to this. I know I'm a little bit green, but I'm starting, and support from people like you and Cynthia is really important so we can move our community forward.
All right. Thank you so much, guys, ladies. It's been awesome talking to you. And as I rightly put it, my name is Abdulkarim Taraja, aka Giamini. Na mimi hujiamini sana. So until next time, let's catch up and let's continue the conversation online, everywhere. Talk to people that we meet, and let's escalate this activism, and not just activism, even access to education, reproductive health, and so many other things. Let's work together. Let's work in collaboration. I don't believe in competition, by the way. I always love to work with people and organizations. And Cynthia, please come on board. I would wish to have a very good partnership, perhaps with the organization, so that we can expand on this issue of women and girls. I have a lot of issues I was discussing with Karen. There is a school in Mount Seligon that's currently going through a very hard issues, and I was approached. Yeah, they need a lot of sanitary pads, for girls, and some serious mentorship. And it's something that next week, if I go home, I want to go there and document some of the stories and perhaps share so that we can work together on some of these things and maybe constitute a team that will be able to go and offer some mentorship for them. That is what we do. In London Center for Education, we want to touch We want to reach those vulnerable and the minorities and those in marginalized areas, so that, you know, at the end of the day, if as many people as possible access education, we can have a change of thinking, you know, and change of perception towards all these issues. You know, the more people are educated, the more we think better, and the more we prosper as a country, as a community. So thank you so much for having you, and it's great.
Thank
And
you.
we'll be able to catch up very soon. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.